Antifa are being convicted of terrorism in the United States, finally, because the last few that tried this all ended up dead, because, well, we couldn't convict them because they were dead. But anyway, here's the newest example. So a second person has been charged in connection with a federal terrorism charges stemming from an attempt to derail trains. Ellen Reich, I mean, literally like the word Reich there, of the Third Reich, was a field organizer for the Washington Dems. A claim of responsibility for the attempted terrorist attack was posted on the site It's Going Down News.
Oh yeah, the actual Antifa site, as Angelo points out. Yeah,
it's an Antifa site, and that's where the claim for the attack was taking place. She was posting about it, or someone who knew was posting about it, claiming that yes, isn't this cool? We're derailing trains. Why is that cool? Who's that cool for? Narco-communism, I guess.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, communist revolutionaries derailing trains is probably not new.
Yeah, but also working with the Washington Dems, because Antifa and the Dems are pretty much one and one these days. So go to the next one. We have more reporting from him. So Ellen B. Reich was found guilty on terrorism charges. Samantha F. Brooks pled guilty. The two far-left militants from Bellingham, Washington, tried to derail a train. Claim of responsibility was posted on the site, blah, blah, blah. Twitter support still gives this domestic terrorism site a platform. That is a accurate description from Andy there, which is that, yes, if they are posting about their terrorist acts and are proud of it on this site, and that site has no problem with that, well, yeah, then if you're giving them a platform, Twitter is perfectly correct. Twitter allows terrorism.
The Taliban are on Twitter, Donald Trump isn't.
Yes.
Donald Trump has not committed any acts of terrorism. Antifa and the Taliban both have.
The right kind of terrorism, I suppose. So,
yeah.
If we the thing in here, like in the images there, you can see like the first one, which was they were arrested for allegedly placing a shunt on tracks in Whatcom County that can cause derailment, decoupling, or failure of gates at crossings, and then they were charged with a terrorist attack and other violence against the railroad carrier. And then if we go to like I think it's the third one, they plead guilty. So they just accepted, yeah, we done it. Like they take it.
Well, I don't doubt they're proud of that too.
Yes. I think it's the last one, actually,
Yeah.
the fourth one, which they plead guilty. Yeah, co-defendants pled guilty on July 9th.
Right.
They're proud of it.
Yeah.
They have no shame. If you go to the article itself, you might be thinking, come on, I don't know, maybe they put some sticks on the ground and that's all this is about. No, it wasn't. Mm-hmm. So this situation was following an FBI Joint Terrorism Task Force investigation into dozens of attempts to derail trains in the area. It wasn't a one-off. They've done this dozens of times. The FBI got called because it was happening so often. They're like, hey, can you figure out what the hell's going on here? And they did, and they found out. So the jury deliberated for about 3 hours following the 2-day trial. Reich faces up to 20 years in prison when sentenced by Chief U.S. District Judge Rico S. Martinez on December 17th.
In 20 years' time, we can look forward to her managing a Black Lives Matter chapter.
44 she'll be.
Do you not remember? I can't remember the name of the woman, but like in the 80s, she set off a bomb in like Congress or something, and then went to jail, and now she's
working with BLM.
A BLM chapter organizer, yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's going to be this lady too.
They're proud of it.
Yeah.
They do not think they've done anything wrong.
And these are the kind of people you got to deal with. And to say that Antifa doesn't commit terrorism, yeah, they do. And
Plenty
on the regular.
Yeah.
So Reich was carrying a paper bag containing a wire, a drill, and a brush head, a magnetic adhesive, and gloves. She came prepared.
Wow.
This wasn't just one-off.
So I wouldn't even know what to do.
Yeah, the train carrying crude oil among other cargo was scheduled to come through the area soon after the incident took place, and then they were subsequently found afterwards. So, I mean, that's the thing you got to keep in mind. It's not just a train. Like, train full of oil derails.
Oh,
huge explosion.
People are going to die.
People dying. And Antifa's like, yeah, that's cool. Also, let's post about it on this website. And the Antifa website's like, yeah, that's cool.
And let's double down on that. And then when I'm alleged, I'll be like, yes, I am guilty of that.
This is disgusting.
Again,
and,
just like the BLM organizer. Just unbelievable.
Yeah, and the thing I want to get into people's heads is it's fine to call them terrorists, because they keep doing terrorism. This is the latest example, where we have the other one that was famous in the United States. This is the guy, William von Spronson or whatever.
Yep.
He'd been in Antifa circles. Andy had run into him in Seattle the year before. And then AOC referred to the ICE detention facilities as concentration camps. He was inspired by this and went down and firebombed the facility.
And she knew that she was describing them as concentration camps to summon up the images of the Holocaust.
Yeah. He came with a rifle and a firebomb, so he firebombed the facility, would have killed people. The cops came out who were guarding the place, and because he had a rifle, they shot him to death and managed to save more people's lives.
Yes.
What do you think he was going to do with the rifle?
Shoot people.
So,
but just to be clear, we can call these people terrorists because, I mean, terrorism is the attempt to enact political change through the use of violence and intimidation.
Yes.
Couldn't be any more
there are
crystal
loads
clear.
of them.
Yeah.
So if we get the next one as well, this is just another one. So this is the Dayton
Keeps
shooting,
going.
which is a guy who was later found out to have loads of ties to Antifa and left-wing organizations. So this is according to the Washington Post as well. An account fired off thousands of messages, including some supporting presidential hopefuls Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders, and the sometimes violent Antifa or anti-fascist movement since it was created in 2013, according to the Washington Post, which snagged over 3,000 of the tweets before the page was pulled. Because Twitter, not to defend the holiness of terrorists for some reason, takes down these accounts, and I'm very sus of why they do that, because every time you look into them, you find things that are interesting.
Well, I mean, you wouldn't want to see their tweet history if you're on the left.
Yeah, and this is not to mention, of course, the I'm 100% Antifa guy in Portland who shot a Trump supporter in broad daylight, unarmed, and then when confronted by the cops, opened fire on the cops after fleeing.
What was his name? He
can't
shot
remember.
Daniel Aronson, and his name was Michael Reinhold?
Yeah, just Google I'm 100% Antifa.
Yeah.
And Vice gave him an interview to give his side of the story.
That's
It was
right.
so important.
Yeah.
Should never be forgotten. To hell with Vice. Anyway, so if we carry on from this is another story I want to talk about, which I recently found out about. Because we went to go give a speech at the Parliament with the AFD, who invited us to talk about the extremist left texts of critical race theory and all the rest of it. And they messaged me, because we met a guy out there called Vadim Dirksham. And he's a Russian immigrant who came to Germany and is like, I'd like Germany to be liberal and conservative and all the rest of it. So he joined the AfD, he campaigns in Berlin, and when he was out going to Holocaust movie once, because the guy running the Holocaust movie had said that no AfD would show up, so they were like, well, I don't give a crap, of course we'll go.
Yeah, but it's on the assumption that the AfD view themselves as the spiritual successors to the Nazis
They
and would be in
obviously
favour of the Holocaust, which they're not.
Yeah. And whilst they were on their way, some Antifa goons cornered him and managed to stab him
Stabbed
with a
him,
wine
yeah.
glass as well,
Yeah.
which is one thing. So then it's gotten worse. So apparently his house has been attacked and they've set fire to his car. And the prime suspect, of course, being Antifa, because in Germany it's a much bigger thing than it is in the Anglosphere.
Well, they're state-funded.
Yes, they are also state-funded, and he's been attacked by them before. So this is one of the images here you can see of the car being on fire, and the fire services trying to put it out. If we go to his Facebook page, you can see him making posts about this as well. There's a public Facebook page. If we scroll down to the one where you can see the burned-out car, and you can see the fire and the firefighters trying to put it out, so below this one, you can see it there. And then there's a video of the firefighters trying to put it out in the morning. He did do a fundraiser for this to raise money for it. Thankfully, good people have donated, and he's been able to fix that. He's also now apparently setting up a website, because this is such a bad problem in Germany that they need like an organization to start bailing people out, because there's too many of these kinds of attacks that ends up causing people financial or personal damage.
I mean, we met Vadim when we were out there doing the Conservatives Guide to White Fragility talk, and we talked to him for like an hour. He seemed like a really regular guy, married with kids, just, patriot, I guess.
Was he married with kids? I can't
Yeah,
remember.
he told me about his kids. So
Yeah, perfectly normal guy, and this is the price you pay for daring to be like, hey, maybe we should try and preserve some of the West.
yeah.
Yeah. I thought I'd also just mention for anyone listening, how do we stop this, in case you're outraged by this? We've done this before, as in Britain's done this before, but we did make a video about this as well. Hilariously, from Vice.com, of all people, documented all this, which is a big own for them, but I know things change. This was back in like 2000 something. So this documents a situation, people should go and give this video a watch, which is that the British Transport Police knew that Antifa were a problem in like 2006 or whatever it was.
Yeah.
So they got 40 of them, got them all on a platform on a train, because they were going to attack a couple of neo-Nazis. And as soon as they started, vans came from everywhere, get all of them, shove them in the court system, give them all bail charges that are ridiculous, and then problem solved. It works. All you have to do is get them into the court system.
Yeah. You've got to actually enforce the laws.
Yeah, no, big brain take.
Yeah, I know, right?
But
Who could have
have the
imagined?
example.
Yeah.
If you enjoyed that segment from the podcast The Lotus Eaters, you can go to lotuseaters.com to get access to the full premium content we have on the site.
Yeah, we've got some really good stuff. Like podcasts, we can't really put up on YouTube or other public domains because we're dealing with sensitive subjects and we don't want to be misconstrued in what we're saying here. The most recent one I've done is the Progressing to Destruction podcast, which is talking about the actual impact of immigration on the United Kingdom. There are lots of progressive arguments on how the ethnic diversity of the restaurants that you're enjoying has nothing but positive results for the United Kingdom, and that's not true, and we can actually see some of the consequences of this. And so I go through that in detail. We also have our regular series, such as the Epochs of the Lotus Eaters, where we talk about history, myself and Bodade. With this particular one I really enjoyed because it's talking about the Battle of Tunis, and why leadership matters, because this was in the First Punic War, where Carthage is losing horrifically to the Romans, and they can't understand why, because there's nothing wrong with their navy, there's nothing wrong with their army. Turns out it was all about the leadership, and all it took was one Spartan general to come and turn the entire thing around. And that was a fantastic episode. I really enjoyed doing that. And we also have the Contemplation series that Josh and Hugo do. This is really interesting, where they just take an interesting subject and go through it in meticulous detail. This particular episode is the science of conformity, and you may well have seen lots of people still wearing their masks in the UK and elsewhere, even though you don't have to. And this goes into why psychology shows that people happen to do this kind of thing. We also have lots of premium articles, again, dealing with subjects that often are not something that you can adequately have a conversation with a bad faith actor. This particular one is free speech and the trope of gay parenthood, which on the, immediately you think, okay, this is going to be politically incorrect in some way, but it's not really. It's actually a very delicate article expressing concern that this is yet another subject where the results aren't in, we don't know what the consequences of this are, and yet we're still not allowed to question the premise. And it's because of the current political environment that we're in. Also, there are lots of other just very interesting and informative articles, such as one by Hugo about how overpopulation isn't real. It's not a real thing. And yet we're constantly told that it is. But the Earth is enormous. And it turns out it can hold billions more humans than we actually have. So, interesting that. And we also have loads of very interesting interviews with people who you may not have heard of, such as Hatton Tash, the lady who was attacked, a Christian lady who was attacked at Speaker's Corner for questioning Islamism. She was stabbed in the head. In very interesting interview with her and various others. You should come to our live events. There's one on the 24th of September and one on the 25th of September. The 25th of September one's probably almost sold out, but there might be a few tickets left. But there are still some for the Friday, where we have special guest Andrew Lawrence, the world's most cancelled comedian, probably, at this point. And
certainly in Britain.
Goodest boy didn't do nothing as well. Very much. I'm a big fan of Andrew Lawrence anyway, so I'm really glad that he's going to be our special guest on that day. But we're also going to be having other things. Count Dankula is going to be there, Mark Meakin, which I pronounced correctly this time, and he'll be doing a comedy set, and you're doing a special secret presentation, aren't you?
My secret speech. I don't want to leak it yet, because the surprise is part of the speech. So,
right, okay.
Yeah. It's going to be about immigration policy, so...
Right, okay. And I'll be doing a secret presentation as well, which again I don't want to spoil because it ruins the fun of it, doesn't it? But yeah, so these will be somewhere in South London, secret venue, because you know how leftist activists are. Insufferable. But we will email you the details of where the venue is after you've signed up, obviously, because that way we don't have to make it public, and a bunch of people who don't want to come and just want to stop us from having a live event can't come and shut it down. So you can go to lotus.com and find that, and we will see you there.